Okay, thank you. Please be seated. Okay, welcome everybody to Municipal Council. It's a pretty special day because we get to do the Mayor's New Year's Honors List recognitions. But first, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that today we are gathered here on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape-Pewok, and Attawandaron peoples. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. We acknowledge all of the treaties that are specific to this area: the Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy Silver Covenant Chain, the Beaver Hunting Grounds Treaty of the Haudenosaunee-Nanfan Treaty of 1701, the McKee Treaty of 1790, the London Township Treaty of 1796, the Huron Tract Treaty of 1827 with the Anishinaabe, and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. Three Indigenous nations that are neighbors to London are the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation, who all continue to live as sovereign nations with individual and unique languages, cultures, and customs. The City of London is also committed to making efforts to provide alternative formats and communication supports for meetings upon any request. To make a request specific to this meeting, you can contact councilagenda@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. With that, and to kick the meeting off, I'm going to introduce our O Canada performer today. Craig is a Canadian musician, singer-songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist based here in London, Ontario. Known primarily as a member of the Canadian rock band Pro Wrestling the Band, he also writes and records his own original music independently, performing many shows across Ontario on a regular basis and weekly in the London, Ontario bar and restaurant circuit, and writing and recording studio albums with Pro Wrestling Band. The music never stops for Craig. Please rise and join me in welcoming Craig, who will now perform the national anthem for us. All right, Craig had the best backup singers I think he's ever had there for everybody in the room. Okay, we're on to disclosures of pecuniary interest. I'll look to members of council to disclose any conflicts. Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to disclose a conflict of interest for item 8.3 for Planning and Environment Committee, item number 13, the school block status update report, as my partner works at the school board, the Thames Valley School Board.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other declarations? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the main recognition of today, although there are two, but we'll move on to the Mayor's New Year's Honors List recognitions. So I'm going to move to the podium in the front to do those recognitions. Okay, this is a very exciting day. It's the first municipal council of the new year, and that means we get to recognize the Mayor's New Year's Honors List recipients. The Honors List is an annual recognition of Londoners who have made outstanding contributions to the community. For this year's recipients, the categories include age-friendly, which are contributions to empowering older adults and advancing age-friendly community. The arts, contributions of fostering and/or the production of human creativity. Distinguished Londoner, and outstanding contributions to the community in collaboration or acts of goodwill by giving back to our city. The environment, contributions to the awareness, preservation, and protection of the environment. Heritage, contributions to the awareness, preservation, and protection of heritage resources. Humanitarianism, contributions to the human welfare effort through philanthropic or other efforts. And now I will introduce this year's honorees, and the way we're going to do this is I'll say your name. You can actually come up while I read the nice things about you so your family has more time to take pictures of you. We'll give you a nice round of applause. You can get the certificate. Go back to the side. Then we'll invite everybody up at the end, and there could be a group photo. So why don't I have Gord Miller come up first? Come on up, Gord. All right, in the category of age-friendly, Gord Miller is a longtime volunteer in the London community supporting and empowering seniors in a variety of organizations. He has a strong commitment to the community involvement and gives generously of his time. With his boundless energy, Gord builds strong relationships with organizations and activities to which he's involved. Due to his recent experiences in associations supporting older adults and with his volunteer background in several healthcare organizations, Gord continues to contribute to the improvement and well-being of seniors and their active engagement in an age-friendly community. Gord has been a vital member of several community organizations, including, but not limited to, Navigating Retirement, the London St. Thomas chapter of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, the Byron Springbank Legion Branch 533, the Oak Ridge Presbyterian Church session, Diabetes Canada, Southwest Ontario Region, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, Home Instead of Senior Care, and I'm sure many others, but that's quite the list. For all of these reasons and more, Gord Miller, you are named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of age-friendly. Congratulations. Thank you. Where's your photos? There's your photographer?
They're up here.
Perfect. Excellent. I'll have, in the arts category, Brenda Zadorsky come out, please. With vision, passion, and dedication spanning 4 decades, Brenda transformed a spontaneous musical moment into Canada's leading youth choir organization. Through her leadership, tenacity, and inclusive mentorship, she cultivated artistic excellence in a family-like community that continues to shape music education locally, nationally, and internationally. Her legacy is not only carried on by music, but the countless lives she has influenced. Brenda co-founded and how do I say this properly?
Amabile.
Amabile Choirs of London, Ontario in 1985, sparked by a spontaneous and serendipitous ice cream moment, which I think we can ask you about afterwards. After the London Kiwanis Music Festival, 27 girls climbed into risers and began singing, revealing a magical harmony that inspired Brenda and her co-founder, John Barron, to create the Youth Singers, a choir that would evolve into a leading choral institution in Canada and beyond. Brenda's dedication extends beyond music. She created an environment where thousands of young singers grew not only as artists, but as individuals. Her influence fortified London's music community with a shared vision of excellence and belonging to our beloved city. For these reasons and more, Brenda, you are named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the Arts category. Congratulations. All right, got it. Oh, we got two. Okay. Okay. Perfect, no, thank you. All right, I'll have, for Distinguished Londoner category, Charlotte Cleland come out, please. Congratulations. Charlotte Cleland is a retired teacher who continues to teach piano in London and has been the festival administrator of the Kiwanis Music Festival since 1979. For 46 years, Charlotte has played an important role in growing and ensuring the successful continuation of the Kiwanis Music Festival. This festival is an opportunity for pro-grade church organ, piano, vocal, string, and wind instruments, trios, quartets, and church choirs, glee clubs, and school orchestras to share their talents and compete. Charlotte's hard work and dedication has helped provide an opportunity for artistic expression and personal growth in an encouraging and supportive environment. In addition to providing a performance experience and a learning experience, critique of the performance, entrants must be identified by the adjudicators, for monetary awards. The festival returns about $45,000 per year to the community through awards to individuals and schools. Charlotte has continued to serve her community with a commitment to local music and the Kiwanis music for 46 years. And for these reasons and many more, Charlotte, you are named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of a Distinguished Londoner. Okay, next I'm going to have, this is a Distinguished Londoners category, but I'll invite two people up, Chris Ure and Nancy Wister. Come on up. For more than 25 years, Chris and Nancy, long-serving members of the White Oaks Community Council, have been the driving force behind the Canada Day celebration in White Oaks. This cherished event unites community members from all backgrounds in a spirit of celebration. Throughout the afternoon and evening, local musicians perform live, and cultural groups share their traditions through a vibrant dance showcase. Entirely community-led and funded, this event provides immense value not only to White Oaks, but also to the broader London community and the many visitors who travel from across the region to take part. The event is a major undertaking in event management, requiring a year-round planning and coordination effort. The ongoing organization team oversees every detail, from booking food vendors, musicians, cultural performers, to recruiting volunteers, securing sponsors, and running marketing campaigns. Entertainment arrangements such as fireworks and inflatable rides, along with event setup and park cleanup, are all part of the extensive effort needed to bring this celebration to life. For these reasons and more, Chris and Nancy, you are both named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of Distinguished Londoners. We'll do them one at a time here. And I'll give them both. See? I'll next invite out Margaret Hopkins. This is the category of Distinguished Londoner as well. Margaret Hopkins is known throughout Old South as a community organizer, instigator, and tireless advocate for making Wortley Village one of the best neighborhoods in Canada. She has served for years on the Old South Community Association Board, organized Gathering in the Green, and many other community events. She organizes the Christmas Market Program, which is part of the Christmas in the Village program, which offers local businesses and nonprofits a market stall on the green to sell their wares, with a portion of the proceeds going to nonprofits. Margaret hosts a little free library and collects books to ensure libraries across Old South remain stocked. And thank you for providing me some books from your library for my kids. I will bring them home tonight and read them. She also organizes a gathering for the Little Free Library, hosts a gathering for that to share stories. Margaret is an incredible volunteer recruiter. The first time I ever met, this is from the person who met her, she was adding mulch to the Cove's ESA trails with the help of the South Collegiate High School students that she had recruited. Margaret knows all the business owners along Wortley Road and can be regularly found walking her dog Buck throughout the village and chatting with neighbors. For these reasons and many more, Margaret, you are named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of Distinguished Londoner. Oh, boy, okay, well, we could do that. Congratulations again. Next, I'll invite out Tom Delaney. Also in the category of Distinguished Londoner, Tom Delaney is the guy you call in Northwest London when you want to do good things for the community. Tom is at the ready to lead, champion, and pitch in wherever he can. As a business leader known for his ethical and compassionate approach to management, Tom applies the same leadership to the community. He is the chair of the Hyde Park BIA and an active member of the organizing committee for the Hyde Park Santa Claus Parade. Tom supports a number of community initiatives that benefit the city, from clothing drives, breakfasts with Santa, local parades, Pond Fest, and support for food rescue and redistribution. Tom is a strong advocate for the local community. His positive approaches are infectious, and his quiet leadership is centered around bringing out the best in the team he leads and the volunteers who works with him. For these reasons and many more, Tom, you are named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of Distinguished Londoner. Congratulations. Next is the category of environment, and this one is posthumously. So accepting on behalf of Beth Hundley, is her husband, Seneca Stanford, and her dad, Rick Hundley. If you want to come out, you can come out. Beth was an adjunct research professor for the Center of Research on Teaching and Learning at Western University. For over 20 years, Dr. Beth Hundley was unwavering in her commitment to making people aware of environmental issues and inspiring action to protect and preserve our natural spaces. Beth joined the Lakes and Reservoir Systems Research facility in Geography and Environment at Western in 2028 to pursue a master's degree, but fast-tracked to a PhD. Her research was important as it showed for the first time what was driving unprecedented change in mountain lakes, knowledge required to protect and preserve these important ecosystems. The importance of making scientific research accessible to everyone to raise awareness on how humans are altering ecosystems was something Beth was exceptionally passionate about. Beth was diagnosed with an aggressive breast cancer, but this did not slow her down. Beth's legacy will continue to live on through her findings, her teachings, and her many contributions to the Earth and our local London community. For all of these reasons, Beth is named posthumously to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of the environment. The next one also has a posthumous award, Anne McCall Lindsay, but also awarded is David Lindsay, who will be coming out and accepting the award for both of them. Anne and David have enhanced our city's heritage in a myriad of ways, both built and cultural. Anne's Kitchen Soup was a destination, ever evolving and offering people from across the city a place to mutually absorb the benefit of Anne and David's unique example of how to blend culture and commerce in one of Canada's finest cookware shops. They had their buildings designated 2 residential and 2 commercial, and they gave generously and vibrantly and consistently to the downtown London for over 50 years. Core organizers of the 1990 Hand Around the Talbot Block protest, which saw 2,000 Londoners join hands around the buildings on Talbot Street between King and Dundas. Anne and David threw their passion for heritage and community into everything they did. Founding members of the West Woodfield Heritage Conservation District, they were hands-on volunteers for all the neighborhood events, the street parties with Morris dancers, caroling door to door, plant sales, garage sales, tea parties, and more. Sometime around 2018, Anne was instrumental in recreating the original herb garden at Eldon House. Anne died this year, and David lives on in their beautiful home at the corner of Princess and Palace. Beacons of quiet determination, their lives are a testament to the road less traveled, on a road to which people and buildings are mutually respected for their originality and their contributions for community. For these reasons and many more, Anne and David are named to the 2026 New Year's Honors List in the category of Heritage. And finally, Sherry Evans, if you want to come out. Perfect. Sherry Evans does important and meaningful work with the Kinship Service Unit. Oh, well, by the way, this is in the category of humanitarianism. Kinship service is support provided for children not in the Children's Aid Society of London Care, but who are living with kin as they are unable to remain with their family due to protection concerns. Many people assume that kin providers receive compensation and support services similar to what a foster parent receives. However, this is not the case. Kin are financially responsible for the children they are caring for, and many kin providers are just making ends meet when they open their doors to their nieces, nephews, or grandchildren. Sherry understands the mentality of a hand up and not a handout philosophy. She wants to provide a dignified assistance. Sherry began sponsoring families 6 years ago at Christmas time for families in local women's shelters. Then, through mutual connections, she was connected to a fellow kinship worker with CAS. Sherry began doing year-long planning and fundraising to provide full present hampers, gift cards, and complete holiday meal baskets for our kin families. She provided attention to detail for every family, and all of her donations are intentional and not just thrown into a bag. This year, she provided for 35 families and over 100 people. She raised thousands of dollars over the years to support this cause. For these reasons and many more, Sherry Evans is named to the 2026 Mayor's New Year's Honors List in the category of humanitarianism. And now I'll invite everyone back up to do a bit of a group photo. Before I do, or as people come up, I'm just going to say, although this is the Mayor's New Year's Honors List, I want everybody to know this is a decision that all of council participates in. Nominations are come through committees in camera. We discuss them, and we hold an actual council vote. So I want to thank all of my colleagues for their thoughtful nominations, as well as their thoughtful deliberations on these phenomenal Londoners who we get to recognize today. So we'll just organize for a nice photo, and then we can move on with the meeting. Thanks again. Yeah. And as everybody's just leaving the room, let me also say a number of the loved ones who are here today to kind of look up for taking photos. As I said at the reception before, amazing people do amazing things because they're supported by loved ones and family members and friends. So thank you for everything you do to make these people we recognize today have the capacity to do what they've done for our city and continue to do. So thank you. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, but I'm sure you want to go out and maybe have a nice lunch or a good time with your loved ones. So thanks for coming. I'm just going to give it a minute so they can I'm just going to give it just a tiny bit. Okay, with that, we have one more recognition to take care of, and I'll have Councillor Rahman present that recognition.
Thank you. As this is the closest meeting of council before January 29th, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City mosque attack and action against Islamophobia. January 29th is a solemn day for our country. 9 years ago, 6 people were killed and 19 others injured when an individual entered the Quebec City mosque and carried out the horrific act driven by hate and Islamophobia. Here in London, we know all too well the devastating impact of Islamophobia. Our own community continues to confront the fear, the trauma, and lasting harm that hate-fueled violence inflicts. Today, you'll see we are wearing green squares. The Green Square campaign honors the victims and survivors of the attack, symbolizing the beautiful green carpet in the mosque where they stood last to pray. In London, we wear the Green Square in solidarity with our Muslim neighbors, with the community in Quebec City, and with the Muslim community across the world. Today, we remember and honor those whose lives were taken 9 years ago. Ibrahima Berry, Mamadou Tanu Berry, Khalid Belkami, Abu Bakr Tabti, Abdil Karim Hassani, Azzedine Soufiane. May their memories strengthen our community to build a truly inclusive London for all.
Thank you, and we'll just take a moment of silence after that recognition. Okay, thank you. Are there any further recognitions? Okay, seeing none, we have review of confidential matters to be considered in public. We have none. Council in closed session, we have 5 items on the regular agenda, 1 item from the added agenda. You'll see the reason there on the added agenda. And I'll look for a motion to move into closed session. Moved by Councillor Van Meerberg and seconded by Councillor Pelosa. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll open the vote.
Tressa votes yes.
Noted. Thank you. Closing the vote. Motion carries 15-0.
All right, we'll be moving to committee room 5. So for members of the public, we will return after our in-camera session. Okay, please be seated. Okay, that concludes the closed session. We're going to move on to confirmation and signing of the minutes from previous meetings. We have the minutes from the December 16th meeting. I'll look for a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Van Meerbergen, seconded by Councillor McAllister. Any questions or comments or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Pelosi votes yes.
Councillor Stevenson votes yes.
Councillor Trossa votes yes.
Oral votes noted as indicated. Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
Next, we move on to communications and petitions. You'll see that 6.1 and 6.2 are expropriations where we need to convene as the approval authority. 6.3 and 6.4 refer to other pieces of the agenda. So we're going to deal with 6.1 and 6.2 first, and then we'll deal with the other two afterwards. And for colleagues, a reminder, when we move into expropriations, we first move from council to convene as the approval authority. We then debate and discuss whether or not to approve the expropriation as articulated. Then we move back to become municipal council, and then we vote on the advice from the approval authority, which is us, as municipal council to move forward, which is the same motion that we consider as the approving authority. So step one is I need a mover and a seconder for council to convene as the approving authority pursuant to the Expropriations Act of 1990. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. Any discussion on making that move? Okay, we're going to open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-1.
Okay, we're now sitting as the approving authority. There is a motion before us which I'm required to read out, and then I will look for a mover and a seconder for it. That on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, Environment and Infrastructure, with the concurrence of the Director of Construction and Infrastructure Services, on the advice of the Director of Realty Services, the following actions be taken with respect to the expropriation of lands that may be required for the project known as the Wellington Gateway Project. A, the Council of the Corporation of the City of London, acting as the approving authority pursuant to the Expropriations Act, RSO 1990, CE 26, as amended, hereby approves the proposed expropriation of lands described in Schedule A, as appended to the staff report dated January 20th, 2026, in the City of London, County of Middlesex, it being noted that the following reasons for making these decisions are: 1, the subject lands are required by the Corporation of the City of London for the Wellington Gateway Project. 2, the design of the project will address the current and future transportation demands along this corridor. And 3, the design is in accordance with the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment Study recommendations for the Wellington Gateway approved by Municipal Council at the meeting held May 21st, 2019. And B, subject to the approval of A, a certificate of approval be issued by the city clerk on behalf of the approving authority in the prescribed form. And C, it being noted that requests for a hearing of necessity have been received for the properties listed below. 300 Wellington Ave, requested by the owner. 385 Wellington Ave, requested by the owner. 387 to 395 Wellington Ave, requested by the owner and requested by the tenant. And that is the motion before us. Is someone willing to move that? Moved by Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Hopkins. Any discussion on this? Okay, then we will open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-2.
Okay, now I need a motion to adjourn as the approving authority and reconvene as municipal council. Moved by Councillor Rahman, seconded by Councillor Hopkins. We'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
Okay, and now sitting as municipal council, as you're aware, we just received some advice from the approving authority. and I have to read that too. That on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, Environment and Infrastructure, on concurrence of the Director of Construction and Infrastructure Services, at the advice of the Director of Realty Service with respect to the expropriations of lands that may be required for the project known as the Wellington Gateway Project, the following actions be taken by Municipal Council. A, the proposed bylaw as appended to the staff report dated January 20th, 2026, as Appendix A, being a bylaw to expropriate lands in the City of London in the County of Middlesex in the East London Link project, be introduced at Municipal Council meeting held January 20th, 2026. B, the city administration be directed to take all necessary steps to prepare plans showing expropriated lands and register such lands and plans as the appropriate registry or land title offices pursuant to the Expropriation Act, RSO 1990 E26, within 3 months of the approving authority granting approval for said expropriation. C, the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign on behalf of the expropriating authority the plan or plans as signed by the Ontario Land Surveyor showing the expropriated lands. And D, city clerk be authorized and directed to execute and serve the notices of expropriation as required by the Expropriations Act, RSO 1990 CE 26, and such notices of possession that may be required to obtain possession of the expropriated lands. Need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Hopkins, seconded by Councillor Hillier. Any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for vote. I just want to note, the reason why it hasn't come up yet is there was a small typo. It is Wellington Gateway Project. It at one point said East London Link. It's actually the Wellington Gateway all the way through. The motion will reflect that consistency throughout the entire wording of the resolution.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-2.
Okay, now on to 6.3 and 6.4, which are other items of communication. They both have places in the agenda that we can refer these to. There's a motion prepared for both. I'll look for someone to move them. Councillor Ferreira, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any discussion on referring those to other parts of the agenda? Seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
All right, item 7, motions to which notice is given. There are none, so we're on to the reports part of the agenda. We'll start with 8.1, which is the second report of SPPC. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Lewis to present that report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am pleased to present the second report of the Strategic Priorities and Policy Committee. I have not been asked at this time to pull anything, so I'm prepared to put all 4 items on the floor.
Would anybody like anything dealt with separately from the SPPC report? Okay, seeing none, that's on the floor. Any discussion then? Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
All right, that concludes that report. We're on to 8.2, the second report of Infrastructure and Corporate Services Committee. I'll turn it over to Councillor Rahman to present the report.
Thank you, and through you, I'd like to put items 1 through 10 and then 12 on the floor. I've been asked to pull 11. Other than that, I've not received any other requests.
All right, would anybody like anything dealt with separately other than 11? Okay. All right, so you'll put that on the floor?
Thank you, I will.
All right, any discussion on items 1 through 10 and 12. Seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll look to put item 11, which is the contract award for the East London Link and Municipal Infrastructure Improvements Phase 3A East Dundas Street on the floor.
Okay, that's on the floor. I'll look for any discussion. Seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-2.
Go ahead.
Thank you. That completes my report.
Great. We're on to the item 8.3, which is the second report of the Planning and Environment Committee. I'll turn it over to Councillor Lehman to present that report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to present the second report of the Planning and Environment Committee. I've had requests to pull 4, 6, and 12.
Uh, 13 had a conflict as well, so we'll do 13 separate as well.
Thank you.
So that's 4, 6, 12, and 13 separate. Anything else anyone wants separate? Okay, I'll let you make a motion.
So I'll move 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Okay, those items are on the floor. I'll look for any discussion. All right, seeing none, we'll open those items for voting in just a moment. Okay, we're open that for voting now.
Closing the vote, motion carries 15-0.
Go ahead, Councillor Lehman.
Thank you. I'd like to put item number 4 regarding 415 York Street. Councillor Hopkins requested that to be pulled.
Okay, that item is on the floor. I'll look for any speakers. Councillor Hopkins, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to ask for this to be pulled. I am not supporting the recommendation from the committee, but I do think that committee, I think there are many paths going forward with the rezoning. I am supportive of the refusal until the studies are done. I think it's really important that we do that, and that's why I'm not supporting it.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Go ahead, Councillor Ferreira.
Thanks, Mayor. I saw also at the discussion, we did have, I guess, a little chat about potential reports about some of the health and safety concerns about with the building being so close to London District Energy. I did hear that there could be maybe some cleanup into this language, just to kind of put in specific types of, I guess, reporting or studies that could be brought in there just as an addition to the pathways to approval. I don't see, I thought that we were expecting something like that at council. I don't see that here. I would need that to support this. I do have issues with the height as it is. I did hear that there was some discussion there about the height might be a little bit too much. I'm willing to go maybe a little bit beyond what's zoned in the area that it already is. But for the pass-through approval, I was expecting some type of report or study on that. And I did hear with staff that we do need that type of language to move forward. So I'm just wondering, is there a potential to make an amendment here and add some specific studies here? Because I did hear some members at PEC say that that would be something that could be considered here at council. So I know I only have one moment to speak, but without that, I won't be supporting this motion.
All I can say, Councillor, is that the committee suggested a referral. I'm not sure what the dialogue was of committee members related to adding studies, but these things can be amended at council. I would say it's a little bit difficult in the absence of language if you're not sure what studies you want, but it is being referred back to a future meeting of Planning and Environment Committee. Certainly, it can, for the reasons that are listed, I mean, committee can have a discussion then, they can refer it again, they can ask for more things. Obviously, there are timelines to these applications, but I don't have a motion. No one's approached me with any sort of amendments so far.
Thanks. I did speak to the proponent after the meeting, and I was told that I was going to hear from them. I didn't hear from them. I did reach out to the owner of the property, trying to discuss it. I've been having a little issues trying to get some kind of additions to this language, just because I feel there could be some concerns and we don't even know what they are. So I think the pathways to approval here should include that. So maybe if I could go to staff and ask, with the language right now, a path to approval, when it comes to a study with respect to any health and safety concerns that could come up, any emission studies, noise studies, or anything like that. Is this enough language to potentially bring a report like that? And also with the time, Q2 2026, is that enough time for that as well?
Go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, the language is sufficient. However, what was discussed at Planning and Environment Committee was a land use compatibility study, and that's what staff have already disclosed to the applicant that would be working towards, and the time frame is sufficient. And that was something that was also discussed at committee with the applicant's support.
Thanks. So you don't need any specific language for like an emissions study or a study just to make sure that the health and safety of any potential residents in that building would need to be done? Do you need specific language like that, or is this enough?
Go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. This is sufficient, and through a land use compatibility study, that would be, it is more encompassing to deal with all those, anything to deal with noise, odor, emissions, etc.
Okay, thank you for that. And with the wording of the motion, we're going to have a report back. At that stage, we would be able to see what studies there are and potentially vote yay or nay for this approval for the zoning bylaw amendment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, that's correct. And also any other mitigative measures that can deal with we'll say the source.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, with that, that's enough to carry me over for now. But I'll be watching closely for the report back in Q2 2026. Thank you.
Any other discussions on this matter? Okay, seeing none, that's put on the floor. Again, it's a referral for the reasons stated in the motion. We'll open that for voting.
Councillor Pelosi.
Sorry, my e-scribe has frozen. I vote yes.
Vote noted. Closing the vote. Motion carries 13-2.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to put item number 6 on the floor. This is regarding 465 Callaway Road. Councillor Rahman requests it be pulled.
Okay, that item is on the floor. I'll look for speakers. Councillor Rahman, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce an amendment, if that's okay. My amendment would be to add a new Part C IV to read as follows. Increase the number of parking spaces to the greatest extent feasible, subject to and in compliance with the requirements of the zoning bylaw and the site plan bylaw, with the objective of achieving 1 parking space per dwelling unit where possible.
Okay, that's, yes, that amendment can be made. I'll look for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Lewis is willing to second. We'll just make sure that gets up on the screen, but while we're doing that, if you want to, you can provide some rationale if you'd like on that, and then we can continue with the debate on the amendment.
Sure, thank you, and through you. So this has been an ongoing discussion with the community and buildings nearby, as well as residents in the area. 465 Callaway Road is fronting onto Sunningdale, and although there is nearby transit, transit is not frequent at this time, and it's not considered part of the transit priority network for the mobility master plan either. So with those things in mind, I think it's incumbent on us to look at parking at a 1-to-1 ratio for a building like this. There is already issues with street level parking in the area because of insufficient parking with some other nearby buildings, as well as some other challenges in the area with just getting around. So this is something I hear quite often from neighbors and a concern that they have brought forward.
Okay, and just for colleagues, it's up now, and you'll see that it's an addition to the directions to the site plan authority to have that direction that Councillor Rahman read out. So just wanted you to know where it lands. And it can go on the floor today because the directions of the site plan authority don't impact the bylaw. So that's why I'm allowing this particular change to be put on the floor. I'll look to speakers on the amendment. All right, seeing none, then we'll vote on the amendment.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-1.
Okay, and now I need, as amended, you're willing to move that?
Yes, I will move it
Okay,
as
and
amended.
seconder for the as amended. Councillor Rahman? No. Councillor Deputy Mayor Lewis? Okay, seconded as amended. All right, so we're on the as amended motion now, which includes the additional direction to the site plan authority. Any discussion on this? Go ahead, Councillor Rahman.
Thank you, and through you. So although we did make the change, and I appreciate my colleagues' support on the change to direct site plan, I do think that ultimately where staff provided approval on this item, where it has, in my opinion, insufficient parking. I understand staff are following our guidelines, but I do believe those guidelines need to be changed. And it is something I will be supporting as those items come forward for discussion. I think it's really important that we're realistic with where transit is available, how people can get around easily in the city, and what kind of options are available to them. And for that reason, I won't be supporting this development. But I think it's important as it moves forward, and if it moves forward, to allow the conversation with the site plan authority to ask for increased parking should this pass. Thank you.
Okay, any other speakers? All right, we'll open this for voting then.
Councillor Trosso. Closing the vote, motion carries 12-3.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll put item number 12 on the floor. This is regarding 1040, 1050, and 1070 Hamilton Road, and Councillor McAllister requested this to be pulled.
Okay, so that's on the floor by the chair. Councillor McAllister, you want to speak, so you can go ahead now.
Thank you, and through the mayor, I do have an amendment that was circulated to council, and I'd like to move that, and Deputy Mayor has indicated that he was willing to second it.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor,
Would you like the cliff notes in terms of the changes I'm requesting?
Yeah, I want to, I just, only because it wasn't on like the added agenda, I just want it for transparency so that the public knows exactly what you're doing. You provide a summary, I'll listen to it. If there's anything I need to add based on what the motion says, I'll add that as well. But if you could provide a summary of the change.
Yes, and through you, absolutely. The short version, in terms of the changes I'm looking to make with this amendment, I'm requesting that Block 5, which was originally zoned as 8 stories, be reduced to a 6-story building, and that as part of the site plan, that public participation meetings with respect to all blocks be added in.
Yeah, and I'll indicate too, I'm going to allow this to be on the floor because the counselor did work with staff on this, had an alternate bylaw prepared that aligns with the changes within it. The bylaw has been checked by our staff, and it's before us today that we can actually approve. So I want to thank you, counselor, for actually doing that diligence, which allows us to move forward at committee rather than referring it back. I think you've covered the changes pretty clearly. If colleagues refresh the motion, I actually put the motion on the screen so that you can see the additions and the deletions, just for clarity, and we'll open discussion on this now. I don't know if, Councillor, if you want to go first to talk about it? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you once again through you. Appreciate everyone who came out to the PPM for the last PEC meeting on this. Had a number of discussions in the area about this. I think in terms of going from the 8 to the 6, I think that's in keeping with densification we've seen on site and in the area. I think it's a fair compromise in terms of what we're looking to do. And I would also say in terms of having the public participation, as the proposals for each block come forward, I think it's appropriate to have that public feedback, also recognizing that there would be a public park on this parcel, and I want to ensure that there's ample opportunity for the public to have their feedback on all the proposals that come forward and what we're looking to do on the site to create some more affordable housing. So I'm looking for your support, and thank you.
All right, discussion on this. This is the amendment to change the language as was described and as shows on the screen. Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. Through you to staff, I just wanted to check, was 8 stories an exception, or was it what was allowed per the London plan?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship, 6 stories is permitted through the London plan. 8 stories was a specific policy framework.
Councillor Stevenson?
So it was a policy framework we have set up for that area, just so that I'm clear.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship, the 8 stories is what's being recommended over and above the 6 stories that's in the London plan.
Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Stevenson, I don't know if you had anything further to say. I just wanted to make sure you were finished, because when you cede the floor, you're done.
I'm finished, thanks.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to confirm before I went to the next speaker. I have Councillor Ferreira next.
Thanks, Mayor. I watched this one with intent on PEC. I guess I got one question with respect to the public participation meeting at the site plan process. Is that a normal thing that we usually do? Do we usually have public participation meetings at site plan?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship, it's at council's discretion if they so choose to request a public site plan meeting.
Go ahead, Councillor Ferreira.
Thank you. And with this is still a zoning bylaw amendment change, correct? With this motion as it is?
So this motion will change, if approved, what went through committee. The bylaw will reflect this, and then it will be what committee approved with Councillor McAllister's changes, and then that decision will be the decision on this site of municipal council. It won't come back in any way. The appeal period would start, and we would be making a decision today.
Thank you. So at the public participation meeting, would the public, if they didn't like the change, the change has already been made, what would the public be able to do in that situation? Is this a public participation meeting, or is this a public information meeting?
I can articulate, I'll have our staff jump in. There was a public participation meeting where feedback was given. The counselor has taken those thoughts as well as his engagement with the public, made an adjustment today to what was approved by the planning committee with the public participation meeting, and is ready to proceed with these adjustments based on the feedback that he's received. So I'll let Mr. Mathers jump in, but there's not another public participation meeting. It's basically, this will be the decision of council, and then there's obviously a mechanism to appeal, but there's only certain people who can appeal. Mr. Mathers.
Through your worship, there is an additional item D that is requiring a public participation, like a site plan a public participation meeting. It's not bolded, so maybe that's something that could be just clarified, because that is also additional text. So that would require a public participation meeting that just speaks to the site plan and provides input that would be considered by the approval authority when they're determining the final site plan.
Yeah, sorry, and I thought the counselor was asking about the public participation meeting that led to this decision. Counselor, you're right. E adds a second public participation meeting, not on the zoning decision, but on just items related to the site plan approval authority. So, and the decisions that they made, so that they can get some additional feedback as well. So there would be one more public participation meeting, but only with respect to the site plan authority direction.
It's confusing. I can understand why that would be confusing. And I don't see how a public participation meeting at that stage in this process is going to actually allow us to make any changes, whatever the public requests. I'm confused on that. With that, I don't know if I can support this one. I'm just a little confused. I don't remember seeing a public participation meeting at site plan process in the past. We're supposed to have public participation meetings, and as the process goes at this council and at committee, public participation happens before we actually talk about the zoning bylaw amendment. So we can get the public's feedback and then take that into consideration when we make a change. This is after we make the change. We're making the change here, and then we're looking for a public participation meeting for the site plan process when everything is already set in stone. So respectfully, I can't support this one the way it is.
And I'll just take just a tiny bit of discretion here as chair, because I know we don't do site plan. I would say previous terms of council, I think we did more site plan holding provisions that would require a site plan public participation meeting than more recent times. But maybe if Mr. Mathers or Ms. McNeely could articulate what decisions are locked in at the zoning, what are the types of things that would be feedback at a public participation meeting on site plan that would be within scope. If you could just articulate that, I just don't want anybody to have any confusion about what's happening. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship. Yes, typically we haven't, we had historically had numerous public site plan meetings, and that's the opportunity for the public to weigh in on site matters, functionality, extra tree planting, enhancements, landscaping, heights of fence, elements that our site plan matters, and that is the direction to the approval authority for matters to consider. In this case, there's at least 5 blocks, so there'll be 5 separate public site plan meetings that come through Planning and Environment Committee. The zoning, if it's approved today, is the applicable law, and there's no opportunity of changing that zoning unless, again, the applicant comes back through a full public process for zoning bylaw amendment.
So I hope that provides some helpful clarification, Councillor.
It does. We're making the decision now, and then we're going to consult with the public about the decision now. So, thank you.
Well, that's not true. There are certain things that we locked in now, but as was articulated by our staff, there are parameters that the site plan authority has within their discretion, and I would say matters that sometimes the public cares very much about: landscaping, tree retention, heights of fences, location of those things, that has been requested through the process, given the complexity of the site and given that it is, an old school site, that planning committee and he's recommending that this process is valuable to the community, but it is not consulting with them after. The consultation on the zoning has happened with the public meeting. There are other elements and decisions that we made with site plan that the public will have a chance to weigh in on, and the councillor's constituents will as well. I'll go to Councillor Frank.
Thank you. Yes, and I am supportive of a public site plan process. We just approved it for 10 Marley Place, and I appreciate council doing that. But I do have a question in regards from going to 8 to 6 stories through the chair to staff in regards to could we potentially be losing affordable housing units on those 2 floors?
Go ahead.
Through your worship, yes, we've estimated approximately 24 units would be lost with dropping from the 8 to the 6 stories. And we would just have to reflect that in our roadmap to 3,000 estimates moving forward.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Then at this time, I'm not supportive of going from 8 to 6. I understand the councillor is representing his ward residents, but at this point, I would prefer to keep those units available for us to be able to utilize towards affordable housing.
Okay, next I have Councillor Hopkins and then Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship, I do have a technical question. I'm sort of a little unclear as to the changes that we're making here now. We're going from 8 to 6, losing 24 units. Are there any changes because of that decision that we're making here in terms of setbacks? So I would think, reading the recommendation, that we were looking at 8, so the development itself, if we go down to 6, would we have to redo the setbacks? Because we had an 8-story, now we're going to the 6. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through your worship, the only change really is just to the height for both the zoning bylaw amendment and for the official plan amendment.
You're good, Councillor Hopkins? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to address a couple of points that colleagues have raised, and I was happy to second this for Councillor McAllister. I'm supportive of the 8 down to 6. 6 is at the as of right. It's also consistent with the approach we've taken at LMCH with the Reimagine Southdale project. 6 is as of right. We've gone with 3 6-story buildings there. It's consistent with the affordable housing development that we've proposed on Duluth Crescent. I know that there is a potential loss, although as we've seen in other developments, sometimes if you push the height down, you marshmallow the sides out and add some units back, and that could still be a potential option here. So I'm supportive of what the councillor is asking, and it's consistent with what I heard from the public participation meeting with regard to resident concerns. The main concern was the 8-story building. There's still a lot of density on this site in the other blocks. Where I'm not going to be supportive is on, and I'm going to ask for clause D to be called separately. So the public site plan participation meeting for all blocks. And the reason that I'm not supportive of this is twofold. I heard really objections about one block and the height that were really zoning related matters for site plan to request. The councillor is fixing that with the change in height. Councillor Frank's correct. We did approve a public site plan process for 10 Marley Place. The significant difference there being when we discussed 10 Marley Place at committee, there were a number of questions about very specific site plan related items. Snow storage, the direction of parking and how that might be pointed into someone's rear yard, and even the potential that the boundary trees may not have consent for removal, and so the building itself may have to actually change. It may have to be realigned, setbacks, location on the lot with regard to the existing heritage building. There could be some significant site plan alterations because of those specifics, and particularly because there may not be consent on the boundary trees, which requires the neighbor who shares the boundary tree to consent to its removal. So that could radically change the 10 Marley Place. So I think the 10, not in terms of the density, but in terms of the physical layout on the property. With regard to the blocks that are proposed in this plan of subdivision for the former Fairmont School, I really think that what we're approving in terms of the zoning is not going to be a legitimate site plan approval, I think we will continue to hear people say, I don't want townhouses, or I don't want an apartment building, but it's not gonna be about where's the snow going, where are the parking lot lights pointed. You know, we heard very clearly that there's an objection to the density. It's being addressed through the 6. And if it was purely a public site plan on the block related to the 8 to 6 story, I might be somewhat more amenable to that, but I don't need to ask staff to do a public site plan on all 5 blocks here. For me, this is a change, very supportive of the 8 to 6. I think it's consistent with what we've done in other projects. But I'm very, very hesitant, and I will always be very hesitant to support a public site plan process. I think that it should always be the exception, not the rule, and should only be exercised in cases where there's really site plan approval authority considerations, things like where is the snow going, where is the garbage collection going, and where is the parking going, because if we aren't able to use this piece of the land, we may have to reorient the building on the land. And so that's where I support those kind of things, because there could be some significant changes. With individual blocks like this, where we know we've got townhouse, apartment, that's, to me, is not a piece for this public site plan. So appreciate where the councillor's coming from. I'm going to support him on the height reduction. I just don't think that this is at the threshold where a public site plan engagement process is met for me.
So appreciate the comments on the voting separate on D. I just want to be clear, the councillor's amendments don't impact D currently, so we're going to deal with the amendment. I can have D pulled separately in the as amended motion after this part of the process. Would be the cleanest way to let people vote the way they want. Also, there's a slight wording update that I'm just going to allow from the chair. The change affects both bylaws, and so we're just going to make sure that's noted. The councillor has both bylaws prepared, but it's both the OPA and the ZBA. So, so it's just a bit of a technical change. You'll see that if you refresh your screen. Other speakers to Councillor McAllister's amendment? Okay, seeing none. So we'll vote on the amendment, and then should it pass, I'll need an as amended, and then I can have a debate on that, and then I can call things separately after that debate is concluded. Okay, so we're opening the vote on Councillor McAllister's amendment.
Councillor Stevenson? Second call for Councillor Stevenson. Marking Councillor Stevenson absent. Closing the vote. Motion carries 12-2.
Okay, now I need an as amended version of the motion. Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so now we have to vote on Part D because it's part of Councillor McAllister's amendment. So just the Part D part of the amendment now, which is the piece about directing civic administration to hold a public participation meeting with respect to the site plan process for all blocks. Okay, so we're going to vote on that now. We'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion fails 7-7.
Okay, so now I need an as amended motion, which will include everything Councillor McAllister suggested, with the exception of D, which was not added. So, Councillor, you're willing to move the?
Yeah, I'll move that.
And seconded by? I need a seconder. Councillor Cuddy. Okay, so as amended, it's everything Councillor McAllister changed with the exception of the public site plan meeting piece. We'll have a discussion on that now, as amended. Go ahead, Councillor McAllister.
Thank you, through the chair. Appreciate the discussion, appreciate the support in terms of lowering the height. I do think there's a lot of density on this site. Obviously disappointed in terms of the site plan to the comments that were made earlier. I think this is a unique site, especially considering we've dedicated parkland. I really do want this to be a community space that the whole neighborhood can utilize, and I think having those conversations would have been valuable. I would still encourage my residents, as the proposals come forward, to have those discussions. You know, I guess my question to staff would be, in terms of approving this today, when would we expect to see some of those come forward for the individual blocks?
Go ahead, Mr. Mathers.
Through your worship, so we're likely a year away from seeing any development proceeding. We have a detailed design process we have to go through, and there'll also be a procurement process looking for partners to actually construct the affordable housing on the site, so approximately a year.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, and through the mayor, appreciate that clarity. Just for my own residents, I often get asked that. I think it also speaks in terms of what we heard with the feedback from the community. There are a number of construction projects, Hamilton and Gore, that roundabout comes to mind, and that is still slated to go ahead within the year. So hopefully we can get some of these projects done before any work on site would begin. Also hope the mayor's effort to upload Highbury bears some fruit, because I hear no end of complaints with that. And Hamilton and Highbury is definitely an area we're seeing a lot of growth. And to the comments that were brought up at committee, in terms of trying to deal with some of that traffic congestion, I think that intersection is going to be a key choke point in the area, as is Hamilton Commissioners with Councillor Hillier. I know he hears that a lot as well. So these are a lot of issues that I hear. I wanted to make council aware. As this process moves forward, I'm still supportive of it. And even moving from the 8 to the 6, there's a lot of density on this site. We're still making substantial movement towards our goal of affordable housing. And I just want to say, I mean, this is something I'm very passionate about. I want to see this be a welcome addition to the community. We've got 2 schools in the area. I know people also raise concerns about that, not on the school board. But it would be nice, you know, to kind of welcome the people who will eventually live in these units to the neighborhood. This is my home turf as well. I hear this a lot from my neighbors. I know these kind of projects freak people out a lot initially, but as we move through this process, I want to keep that engagement going. I want people to be involved, much as we've seen with something like Vision Soho, Duluth. Turning unused school lands into housing, I think, is a very worthy goal, and I want to see this move forward, and I'm still supportive of it, so thank you.
Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Yes, thank you. So I'll just say ditto to Councillor McAllister's comments about uploading Highbury and the Hamilton and Gore roundabout, long requested needs in the East End that need to be addressed. And I know that Mr. McCrae's team is working on the roundabout already, and I know the mayor is working on the advocacy for Highbury. I will say, and just to follow up on the councillor's comments about parkland, and I want to make sure we're consistent with Duluth, where we set aside a parkland block on that former school site as well, through you, Chair. While we've set aside a parkland block, the actual parks planning process will be a separate process from the development of the affordable housing piece, and will involve our parks department and presumably our neighborhood services team with Ms. Smith and filling in today Mr. McGonigal, in terms of the amenities that we would see in that sort of parkland. So I just want to confirm that that's a separate process from the development of the affordable housing pieces for the parkland planning and development.
Go ahead.
Through your worship, absolutely, that is part of the standard subdivision process, and we'll work very closely with those teams to ensure that we proceed with a great park in the area.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure, for clarity's sake, Parks, as we move forward with Parks planning, Parks will actually be looking at public feedback and input on what sort of amenities the neighborhood is looking for in that park. That it won't just be Parks brings forward, here's what we're going to do, but there actually is a public engagement process on the Parks planning piece.
Mr. Mathers.
Through the chair, yeah, that's a part of our standard subdivision process, so absolutely, that is accurate.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Any other speakers to the as amended motion? All right, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-1.
Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to put item 13 regarding the school block status update report on the floor.
Okay, that's on the floor. I'll look for any speakers to this item. Go ahead, Councillor Ferreira.
Thanks, Mayor. So I got to speak to this one. I'm going to support the staff recommendation part. I think kind of extending the time for the school blocks, bringing the time beginning at registration is a good way to go. But I'm not supporting that motion that was added at the end. That motion was specifically something that I think is against the interests of the city. So a school block is a piece of land that's owned by developers as far as I'm concerned. So I want to go to staff and ask who owns school blocks typically when we're developing new residential?
Go ahead.
Thank you, through your worship. Yes, it remains in the developer's hands until a decision is made either to advance it towards a school block or a park block, but ultimately then it would revert back to the developer.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So that clause C of that motion specifically read that civic administration be directed to explore and report back to a future meeting of the appropriate standing committee any property tax options available, including but not limited to a municipal property tax exemption or a property tax refund program on reserved school blocks while they are prohibited from development. So my first question would be, is this something that we can even do as a municipality? Can we give a property tax exemption or refund program to a private developer who owns these reserved school blocks?
I think that's part of the report. We might have some of those answers now, but I'll go to the treasurer.
Thank you, through the chair. So with respect to the taxation regulations, there are no exemptions unless the land is held by a school board. So we would need to look at if there is some applicability for some other program that may exist. We don't know of any, but certainly our intent would be to liaise with the other larger municipalities to see if they know of any programs that may be applicable in this circumstance that certainly would avoid any bonusing provisions, which we would need to be mindful of.
Go ahead, Councillor Ferreira.
Thank you. So yeah, school boards, schools don't pay property tax, but they're public institutions providing a public good. This is a motion that is looking for a property tax exemption or refund program for a private business. So I guess my follow-up question would be is if we did do that, even though it seems like we can't under the Municipality Act, if we did do that, who would pick up the tab for that lost revenue?
Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. If there was an ability to provide some form of tax relief, those lost taxes would need to be made up through other property tax classes and or the budget approved by council.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So we need to reduce our property tax level, and I'm not one to start kind of flipping the bill for property tax, taking property tax away from a private company and putting it on the backs of hardworking Londoners. That's just not my intention at all. And I feel like this is a motion that is going to take a report back, which is, in my opinion, a waste of municipal resources as it is. And the questions, staff seem to know right off the bat. I didn't see any questions get asked at committee about this. But it's a motion that is flipping the bill from, you know, a private company and putting it on the taxpayer, putting it on the rest of London. It's taking the cost of doing business and putting it on all of us, you know. As far as I'm concerned, a private company, a private developer has costs of doing business, and this is one of those costs. This is not one of those costs that we should be paying for. I heard at committee about seeing the numbers. I heard at committee about I just want to see this is not a final decision. But this signals an intention to have us pay for a private business's costs. I'm not for that at all. I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that serves the interests of the city. So I am going to support the staff recommendation. I think the staff recommendation spoke to exactly what the concerns were. It's giving predictability on how long these reserve school blocks are going to be held, and that's exactly what the issue was. This motion, this specific motion, is looking for, you know, taking away that cost of business to private developers who are developing and looking into the numbers to see if it's appropriate to have the rest of the city pay for it. I try to bring a motion about preventing people from being homeless, to stop people from going out on the street. We didn't want to hear that. But this, now we want to hear this? I don't think so. I think we need to vote this part down.
So you're asking for that to be voted on separate? We can do that. Look to Deputy Mayor Lewis and then Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, following up on the councillor's comments, let's be clear about something. The cost right now is directly tied to the price of new homes. Because that land sitting sterile, it's not made up by anyone in the private sector business. It's made up by those purchasing homes in new subdivisions, period. It's adding to the cost of a home purchase price. These businesses are not, when you're going from our current holding time of 3 years to 6.5 years, they're not going to eat that loss. They're going to just add it to the price of a new home. So when we talk about housing affordability in these chambers, you have to look at all aspects of housing affordability. And what this is saying is, go back and look at how this land is treated. Nobody's suggesting that they're going to pay no tax on this land, which is what happens when it becomes a school block. But what they are suggesting and what this motion suggests is, look at what the options are. Prior to a plan of subdivision, these lands might be zoned open space, they might be zoned agricultural, they could be zoned a number of things where they're paying a lower rate than what you're paying for a residential property. So maybe the path forward is that we look for some sort of program where they're charged at the rate they're being charged until the land is either released or claimed by the school board. Whether or not that's viable, as was mentioned by Ms. Barbone, is something that staff have to go and look at with other large municipalities. But I think, colleagues, you should be under no illusion. This is not a private developer's cost. This is being added to the price of homes. Period, full stop. And Councillor Ferreira, you can shake your head all you want.
Through the chair, please.
Through the chair. But that is the reality. And that is what we heard at the public participation meeting. And that is, at the end of the day, how home building works. And whether you like it or not, we're not the ones building the homes. And we're not the ones setting the purchase price. So we do have to look at whether or not there are tools in our toolbox that we can implement. And it's not saying people can't change zoning, because they can. That's a right under the Planning Act of Ontario. But it is looking at whether or not there are incentive programs, similar to what we do with CIPs, where we have an office to residential conversion incentive downtown. That's another incentive for a change of land use. This is about a change of land use, whether or not it becomes a school block or whether it becomes residential. And it's about the industry having sat with us, having sat and worked with our staff and said, we can meet you at 6.5 years. But we would like you to look at whether or not there's different things we can do in the property tax rate so that we're not passing that on to add to the cost of a new home in our city. And I think we all agree the cost of a new home is a challenge for residents in London, Ontario right now. To move from rental and free up rental space into home ownership, that price is a barrier. In fact, we are running an incentive program that offers qualifying applicants a loan on a down payment to get into the housing market. So we've recognized that through that incentive program. This isn't making a decision on whether or not there's going to be any changes, rebates, refunds. This is saying, take a look at what other municipalities are doing and come back and talk to us, give us a report. Then we can make a decision on that. So I would strongly encourage colleagues to support this as it is today. Let's see what, if any, options are available for us, and then we can have a debate about which tools we want in the toolbox and which ones we don't.
Okay, I have Councillor Hopkins and then Councillor Rahman.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I was at planning. I did hear the comments made at the public meeting. I would like C pulled. I'm not going to be supporting it, and I'm not exactly sure even what this report is going to look like coming back to us. I'm not sure what kind of information will be in it. Whatever information is going to be in there, we know MPAC assessments have not been done since 2016. There's going to be information there, but that may not be updated. It'd be interesting to explore what other municipalities are doing, but I'm not sure if we need a report back to explore what other municipalities are doing. My biggest concern is the report coming back to us will not have updated information. That's what's important. If we're exploring property tax options, we need to have the information available to us that's updated. So if C could be pulled, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it for Councillor Ferreira, but so it'll already be voted on separately at the end of the debate. So no problem with that, and I'll go to Councillor Rahman next.
Thank you, and through you. So I just wanted to bring us back to the purpose of the school block status update report, and that was the good work of staff, the development community, and the school board around working collaboratively to find a way forward so that we can hold blocks of land for our school needs here in our community. I hear quite often from residents in my ward who have had significant challenges with overcrowded schools because of the timeline it takes to build schools, secure land, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a way for us to move this conversation forward in a productive way, working with all partners, something we haven't done, I will say, enough of in the past, and so this is an opportunity for us to take those conversations forward. So I want to thank the partners that came to the table for those conversations, because I think it's really important. When it comes to the next part of the discussion around what does this mean in terms of costs, I agree that there may be some additional costs that are borne by the developer. And so we had members of the development community saying, let's take a look at what that might be. For me, that take a look at, and it was mentioned actually in the gallery that day by Mr. Wallace, is something that could be done on the developer side as well. So there are options the developer can exercise, and through, my understanding is through MPAC, in order to be able to recoup some of that cost as the land sits vacant. Even if all we do is say, here's what we can't do, but here's what your process is through MPAC, I think it just goes back to showing that we're willing to think about this in a collaborative style to say, you were willing to have some of these discussions, here we went and looked at some information for you. So I'm willing to entertain that, but I agree with Councillor Ferreira. I'm not looking to make an exception in the long run for a development property, but I do want to hear on balance both sides of that conversation. And I do hear what Deputy Mayor Lewis is saying, that these will add costs in those neighborhoods that are being developed, and who's going to bear that cost but the people buying the homes. So a lot of things for us to consider. We shouldn't be fearful about getting information back. We should want that information coming to us so that we can make a decision with all the appropriate information in front of us. So I'll be supporting what's on the floor.
Other speakers? Councillor Lehman.
I just want to follow up on that. As Councilor Rahman said, this was brought forward because of the frustration the school boards have, and what the councillor said, in getting schools approved in a short window that we have right now. I believe it's 3 years that developers have to keep the space set aside. Provincial funding can easily exceed that time, if ever. And the clock has passed. The lands are not assumed by the school board because they have the funding from the province. The city hasn't optioned it up. So we lose that opportunity. So the three parties sat down, school boards, representation from developers, LDI, and city staff, to say, how can we address this? And the solution has come up with, as I think is a good one, let's extend that period to 6 years. That's doubling the amount of time land can sit vacant without being developed. The developer will have to pay those carrying costs, et cetera. So that's what we're looking at today. I think it's fair to look at, is there a compensation model for the extra cost? Extra cost that will be borne by the entity owning the land and paying carrying costs on that. I don't think there's anything wrong to look at that. So those solutions, like property tax exemption, was something that was put out as an example. Hearing Ms. Barbone, I don't think that's probably a path forward. But I think we do have to take a look at who's carrying the cost of this extra period that land can be held vacant. To achieve what we want to achieve is just some extra time in rapidly expanding city with high density that we can keep a chunk of land to set aside for schools. Because once that land is gone and developed, then we get in all sorts of situations where overcrowding, busing, et cetera, that we can avoid at this point. So I will support both points of this.
I have myself on the list next. I'll turn over the chair to Deputy Mayor Lewis. And then I have Councillor Trousseau after me.
Go ahead, Mayor Morgan.
Yeah, so I just want to weigh in on this because I'm listening to colleagues and I think they have fair and legitimate concerns and perspectives, but I think sometimes in the debate we can kind of talk past the point of what we're doing. So I appreciate Councillor Rahman and Councillor Lehman trying to pull it back to what's happening. So I just want to articulate that in a clear way. I've represented a ward, Councillor Rahman represents it now, where the time frame expired on all of the school blocks. And then there were 2 schools needed in that area. And it became a very challenging and expensive process for the school board to acquire those lands, and a complicated process for the municipality, which involved having to swap some land and think about different things coming into the urban growth boundary at different paces. It can create a lot of complications if you don't hold school blocks for the right amount of time that gives the schools the opportunities to acquire them. So what this says is, instead of 3 years, we're going to more than double that. We're going to give school boards way more time on deciding whether or not they need these lands as we build out new subdivisions. So guess what? The developers, in the meantime, are local servicing and paying for the local servicing of that entire subdivision. And then what we're saying is, but you can't build here for an extra 3.5 years, not just on one block, on all the school blocks. And there could be multiple ones of various sizes within the neighborhood. So I agree, having a fairly good understanding of the property tax system with the treasurer and the deputy city manager, there's probably not a lot that we can do on the property tax side of things. But there are probably other ways we can look at the way the land is taxed or assessed, or how it is zoned in the meantime while it's being held, to give the school boards an opportunity. Because make no mistake, what we're deciding today is we are forcing them to hold it for an extra 3.5 years, a more than doubling. So there are some consequences of that we should be aware of. And I think a reasonable information report back to say, what does that look like, is fair. Would I support everything that comes back in that report? I'd have to see it first. Probably not, but there's some things that I probably could. I'm not even sure what would come back. So I'm supportive of C. I recognize that it says options available, including but not limited to, and then there's probably some things in there that some colleagues don't like, but you just have to remember these are just options. We aren't making decisions. Some of those options may not be viable. Others there may be some that we haven't thought of yet. But at the end of the day, going back to Councillor Rahman's point, the point here is about having adequate land supply for the right period of time for schools to be built in growing neighborhoods with a lot of pressure. And the discussions that came out of that are, yes, we can more than double the time, but we want some things looked into in the meantime. So we're proceeding with doubling the time today, and we're making no commitment to any sort of compensation today, right? We're making the decision. So I just wanted to pull it back to what we're actually deciding on today. We can make other decisions tomorrow on what comes forward from this report. So I'm supportive of proceeding with the report, but I'll reserve judgment on the content of that report when I see it.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. I'll return the chair to you, and reminding you of Councillor Trussow next on the list.
Councillor Trussow, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I'll keep my comments really brief. I think the advice that we received from the treasurer pretty much disposes of this matter. The Part C, it says property tax. We can't do that. Yet we get a request from a lobbyist saying, please do some special things for us. And, you know, we only have a limited amount of time and ability to send back staff reports, which I become very painfully aware of on many occasions when I'm told, well, you know, we have to sort of not send a lot of things back for reports if it can't be done. So I'm strongly opposed to C. I appreciate the overall framework in terms of giving the parties more time to sort out their affairs, but not C. That's just asking for a special interest subsidy that we cannot legally, even if we wanted to, provide. So let's just vote down C and get on with this. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other speakers on this? All right, so we'll certainly call C separately. And we'll do that first. That way everybody can get that one out of the way, and then we'll call the balance afterwards. So we're going to vote on C. Councillor Lehman, I assume we can just use you to move both of these parts?
Yes.
Okay, so C is put on the floor by the chair. We'll open the vote on C.
Closing the vote, motion carries 11-3.
And now we'll open the vote on the balance of all of the items.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0 with one recusal.
Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes the report.
Okay, we're on to added reports, and great news. Councillor Rahman's got an extensive one, which she has agreed to read out because it comes from her committee. So we'll do the added reports, which includes the report from council in closed session. Councillor Rahman.
Thank you. I'm pleased to provide the second report of the council in closed session. Your council in closed session report reads, Item 1, Property Acquisition 500 Wellington Road, Wellington Gateway Project, that on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, finance supports with the concurrence of the Director, Construction and Infrastructure Services on the advice of the Director, Realty Services with respect to the property located at 500 Wellington Road, further described as Block 7 on Plan 33M 501, City of London, County Middlesex, designated as Part 1, on Plan 33R 21981 in the City of London, being part of PIN 08471-0594, containing an area of approximately 2,123 meters squared, 22,846.51 square feet, fee simple, and a temporary easement containing 1.193 meters squared, 12,839.84 square feet, as shown on the location map as Appendix B, for the purpose of the future road improvements to accommodate the Wellington Gateway project. The following actions be taken. A, the offer is submitted by the London Health Science Centre, the vendor, to sell the subject property to the city for the sum of $1,190,000 and grant a temporary easement for the sum of $135,000 for the term of 2 years with an option to extend the term for up to 2 years up to 2 times, subject to the terms and conditions as set out in the agreement as Appendix C be accepted, and B, the civic administration be directed to apply the financing for this property acquisition as set out in the source of financing as Appendix A. 2, property acquisition 410 Wellington Road, Wellington Gateway project, that on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager Finance supports with the concurrence of the Director of Construction and Infrastructure Services on the advice of the Director of Realty Services with respect to the property located at 410 Wellington Road, further described as part of Lot 24, Concession 1, designated as Part 1 on the Plan 33R21975, and additional lands, fee simple interest containing a total area of 30,850.44 square feet and a temporary easement over part of Part 2 on reference Plan 33R21975 containing an area of 18,263.77 square feet in the City of London, being part of PIN 083610038, shown as Part 1 and 2 of draft reference plans not deposited, prepared by Stantec Geomatics Limited, dated November 20th, 2025, as shown on the location map and sketch attached as Appendix B for the purpose of the future road improvements to accommodate the Wellington Gateway project. The following actions be taken. A, the offer submitted by London Health Sciences, the vendor, to sell the subject properties to the city for the sum of $1,542,000 and grant a temporary easement for the sum of $141,000 for a term of 2 years with an option to extend the term up to 2 times, subject to the terms and conditions as set out by the agreement attached as Appendix C, be accepted, and B, the civic administration be directed to apply the financing for this property acquisition as set out in the source of financing as Appendix A. 3, property acquisition 162 Wellington Road, Wellington Gateway. There's a lot more to read, people. That on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, Finance supports with the concurrence of the Director, Construction Infrastructure Services on the advice of the Director of Realty Services with respect to the property located 162 Wellington Road, further described as part of Lot 25, Broken Front Concession, Geographic Township of Westminster, designated as Parts 1, 2, 3 on R33R22187 in the City of London, County Middlesex, being all of PIN 08358-0011 as shown on location map and reference plan as Appendix B for the purpose of future road improvements to accommodate the Wellington Gateway project. The following actions be taken. A, the offer submitted by Eden Mujaic, the vendor, to sell the subject property to the city for the total sum of $620,000, subject to the terms and conditions as set out in the agreement as Appendix C, be accepted, and the civic administration be directed to apply the financing of this property acquisition as set out in the source of financing as Appendix A. 4, property acquisition, Waterman Road, allowance east of Wellington Road, Wellington Gateway project. That on the recommendations of the Deputy City Manager, Finance support with the concurrence of Director, Construction and Infrastructure Services on the advice of the Director of Realty Services with respect to the property known as Waterman Road, allowance east of the Wellington Road, further described as part of Block 8 on Plan 33M501, designated as Part 3 on 33R21981, City of London, County Middlesex, being part of PIN 08471-0595, as shown on the location map as Appendix B for the purpose of the future road improvements to accommodate the Wellington Gateway project. The following actions be taken. A, the offer submitted by St. Joseph Healthcare London and London Health Sciences, the vendor, to sell the subject property to the city for the sum of $130,000 and grant a temporary easement for the sum of $8,000 for a term of 2 years with an option to extend the term up to 2 times, subject to the terms and conditions as set out in the agreement as Appendix C be accepted, and the civic administration be directed to apply the financing for this property acquisition as set out in the source of financing as Appendix A. 5, lease agreement 999 Collip Circle, Convergence Center, Units 201, 229, 230, and 231, City Clerk's Office, that on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, Finance supports with the concurrence of the City Clerk and on the advice of the Director of Realty Services with respect to the lease agreement of commercial space located at 999 Collip Circle, Unit 201, 229, 230, and 231. The following actions be taken. A, the new lease agreement, the lease as Appendix A between the City and the University of Western Research and Development Park, the landlord, for the lease of approximately 11,431 square feet rentable space located at 999 Collip Circle, Units 201, 229, 230, 231, for a term of 1 year and 4 months, commencing on February 1st, 2026, and ending on May 31st, 2027, for the City Clerk's Office at a gross lease price of $42,219 per per month plus harmonized sales tax be approved with a further right to extend on a month-to-month basis if required until December 31st, 2027. B, the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute the lease agreement. C, the civic administration be authorized to undertake all administrative steps necessary in connection with the lease agreement. And D, the civic administration be directed to apply the required financing from the Municipal Election Reserve Fund for this lease space as required, and that progress was made with respect to items 4.1 and 4.7 as noted on the public agenda. 6.12 SPPC added reports related to 380, 390 Princess Avenue.
Okay, so thank you for that. The way we're going to handle this is we're going to deal with 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are all the things related to rapid transit projects as one block of votes. We'll deal with the lease agreement at the University of Western Ontario Research and Development Park and the progress clause as a separate vote. Does that sound good? Okay, so first we'll do all of the BRT-related ones, and so, Councillor Hopkins, if you got a question on that, Councillor Rahman will move, because she's presenting the report, and we don't need a seconder. So, all the BRT ones are on the floor. Any debate on that? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-2.
All right, and now we'll put on the floor the lease of office space at the Convergence Center and it being noted clauses, the progress clauses related to the items that are still in-camera items. Any discussion on those? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-1.
Okay, that means we're on to deferred matters. I don't have any inquiries. Any inquiries? Okay, I don't see any. Emergent motions, there are none. So we're on to bylaws. Here's how I'm going to do the bylaws based on how people voted today. We're going to do bills numbers 36, 43, and added bills 55 to 58, which are all related to Wellington Gateway and the rapid transit projects. We'll do all of those bills all together first. Then we'll do bills 31 and 47, which are related to Callaway, 465 Callaway. Then we'll deal with bills 34 and 53, which are the revised bills that Councillor McAllister made some changes to with respect to the property on Hamilton Road. And then we'll do everything else. Does that sound okay? All right. Is there someone who supports all of that so I can use the same mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Lewis and Councillor Pribble. Okay, I'll use you for all of those motions all the way through. Okay, so first, like I said, we're going to deal with bills 36, 43, 55, and 58, which are all related to the Wellington Gateway project. We're going to open first reading of those bills.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-2.
All right, second reading, same mover and seconder of all of those bills. Any discussion on second reading? All right, seeing none, we'll open this for voting.
Motion carries 13-2.
Third and final reading of these bills, same mover and seconder. We'll open third reading for voting.
Motion carries 13-2.
Okay, next we're going to deal with the 465 Callaway items. It's bills 31 and 47. I'm going to open first reading for voting.
Motion carries 13-2.
And second reading of these bills, I'll look to see if there's any speakers. Seeing none, we'll open this for voting.
Motion carries 13-2.
And third and final reading of these two bills, we'll open that for voting.
Motion carries 13-2.
Okay, next we're going to do bills 34 and 53, which are the revised bills related to, I think it's 1040 Hamilton Road. This is, Councilor McAllister made some changes to these, so those revised bills will open for first reading.
Motion carries 15-0.
And second reading. See if there's any discussion. Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Motion carries 15-0.
And third and final reading of these two bills, we'll open that for voting.
Motion carries 15-0.
All right, and then all the remaining bills that we haven't approved, I'll put those on the floor with the same mover and seconder. And we'll open first reading of everything that's left.
Motion carries 15-0.
And second reading, I'll look for any discussion. Okay, seeing none, we'll open second reading for voting.
Motion carries 15-0.
Third and final reading of these bills, I'm going to open that for voting.
Motion carries 15-0.
Okay, that brings us to the final item, which is adjournment. I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Van Meerbergen, seconded by Councillor Hillier. We can do this by hand. So all those in favor of adjournment? Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're adjourned.